Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. This is part 2 of me reading A Boy Called Arsenal. Well, it's called John. Personally made the channel, I don't care. So, there is 3 pages I'm going to read. And there's basically, Arsenal told me the way the book was done, this person would interview him, basically, ask him questions, and write the book. The first page and a half is a conversation between Alan, the interviewer, and Arsenal, the person the book is based on. But, here we go. Alan, so you spoke last week in the pub about not remembering much about the first 6 years of your life. What exactly do you remember, and is there anything you can tell me? Arsenal, as a kid I can remember negatives, unfortunately. The first thing memory I have as a kid was I lived opposite the school, the primary school, and the only memory I have of that school is one day I was taken over to the bus stop away from the school. I never knew at the time, but it was a special coach I was going on. I actually literally got dragged as I was screaming. I didn't want to go on this coach, and no one had explained anything to me. I never got on that coach in the end. Alan, who was trying to put you on the coach? Arsenal, me mother. You'll find out why it says me mother, me dad, me brother later on in the book. I was only thinking about this about a month ago, and I rang me dad up and asked him about it, and he said, I don't really remember stuff. I'm getting on, lad. Because he's in his 70s now, but he did suggest to me that I ask me brother. So I tried to contact him, but he works all hours, so I still have to ask him if he remembers anything about that coach, or this coach. But when I was diagnosed in 2011, I asked my mum if she knew anything about anything, and she said there was no health support for me back then, and that told me that my mum and dad actually knew that something was wrong. Alan, when you say special coach, where was the coach going? Arsenal, I don't know. Never even got on it, but because I was fighting me mum, because I didn't want to go on it. Sorry. I was a kid. I was in junior school, so I was under 10. It was going somewhere, but Alan now. So who else was on this coach? Arsenal, I don't know. A couple of kids, I remember them looking out of the coach window at me because I was hanging onto the railings by the bus stop because I didn't want to go. Alan, what was the name of the school? Arsenal, the school I actually went to was St. Albert's primary school, and the coach was over the road outside the school. The school had its own entrance, and there were a row of cars, but this coach was going on at the normal bus stop. Alan, someone must have arranged for you to go on this coach. Arsenal, it was arranged for me, but they'd never told me. Alan, your mum must have been involved. Arsenal, yeah, but I just remember getting actually dragged to the bus stop, and I was like, whoa. So that's now the end of the interview. But it's not, there's other bits of the interview, but you know what I mean, for now. After 47 years in counting, Arsenal has had no idea where the coach was going. The events in his life would have been traumatic to any kid, dragging, screaming, and placed on the coach no information, no understanding why he wasn't going into school like he did every other day of his life. Now add to that the complexity of being a child with autism and undiagnosed. His parents were doing the best for him, and whatever the advice at the time had been, it involved putting Arsenal on special coach. No one in the early 1970s made awareness for kids with autism. It was a very new diagnosis, even though it was first recognized as a condition back in 1908 by physicist Eugen. Something probably, it doesn't matter. To describe a schizophrenic patient who had withdrawn into his own world. Doctor, the surname couldn't read, was using the word autism rather than diagnosing someone with a condition. That didn't take place until 1943, so just before the Second World War finished, before I just add that in. Autism was even then not a new condition. It didn't suddenly appear in humans in 1943. The first ever record case of autism was probably in 1800, and the condition almost certainly has been around for centuries before then. In 1800, a Frenchman named Jean. I hate French surnames. Just horrible. If you get the book yourself, I'll link in the description of the book. Wrote in an account of a 20-year-old boy, his approximate age brackets, who had been living in a forest until he was captured on Wednesday, 8th of January 1800. The doctor named the boy Victory, who made no direct communication and was very self-absorbed. The doctor's name is Itard. Sounds like retard, but we're not going to say retard, are we? Assumed that Victor had grown up without any form of human contact, as he never spoke. He would gesture if he wanted something, according to Itag. Victor would pull someone by the arm and gain their attention, and wanted items to be in the same place consistently. He was always very unhappy unless the object was moved back to its former place. It's obviously impossible to be sure, but this could well be the first recorded example of a person with autism. During the early 1970s in the UK, something or other, typically included removing from the family home. Many kids were placed in institutions in order to receive care around the clock. Treatments included. I've just read the first little bit, it's fucking stupid. Dilute acid, the LSD. You'd be giving kids LSD? Electrode therapy, which as late as 2010 was still introduced as treatment for autism. Give them LSD and electrocute them. Behavioral approaches that use something like basically punishment, basically smacking them. So you're going to give them some LSD, electrocute them, and then smack them. That is, yep, everyone, that is the way how to treat an undiagnosed, or well, just kids in general. Yep. Parent of the year there. Autism was a misunderstood condition. I don't know why I'm joking about it. This is a serious book. Autism was a misunderstood condition, and the misunderstanding led to unfortunate interventions and treatment therapies. A development in the decades to follow led to fortunate changes. For Arsenal, at the age of 9, after not speaking for the first 6 years, I was very similar. I was 5 when I first spoke of his life, and then because of severe stutter, this all in brackets, and then because of a severe stutter, continuing to have incredible difficulty to make himself understood. There was very little compassion and understanding. Basically, he was a troubled lad. A bad loser who was obsessed with football and always getting himself into scraps. Scraps meaning fights. If you're non-English people. I'm not sure we can find out where the coach was going that day. It was parked outside St. Albert's Primary School, but there's a part of me that feels very glad that Arsenal didn't get on it. Through several interviews, it was very hard to find out any more from Arsenal's early childhood. Miss Flynn, I think it's Flynn, it's like I said last week, it's Flynn, Flynn, had her third child in November 1964, another boy named Mark, followed by Jackie, the first girl, on the 12th of February 1968. There is a memory of Christmas Day, either 1970 or 1971, but Arsenal tells. And this goes back to another interview, so I've been saying Alan, his lines, and then Arsenal, his lines. Alan, do you remember any special events like birthdays or Christmas? Arsenal. The only Christmas I ever remember was one Christmas. We came downstairs really early with my 2 brothers, and me parents had led out our presents, and me brother had got a watch, and Ida, because I got, but the presents were like near together, so my brother picked his up, and all I can remember, like half an hour later, was he had their 2 new watches. I picked one up because they were all close together, and then he'd waved his arms about saying, look, I've got 2 new watches. Yeah, that's totally from, and it never clicked like that one of them was mine until my parents came down. That's the only Christmas I remember before I went to senior school. I think I was 8 or 9, maybe. Alan, have you ever been told why you have no memory of your early childhood? Arsenal. You know what? No one has ever mentioned it. I never got told absolutely anything as a kid or as an adult. Me mum had me older brother and me younger brother by that time. She was 21, and when she was having her third child, Her and me dad split up, which I never knew. And then she met someone else who I called Dad, who had been there ever since. But I never told that. I was never, but I was never told that either. Tony was there from when I was 1.5, and his name is Whittock. My mum's name is Flynn. In junior school, I was always Flynn, and I just always was. I'm not surprised that Arsenal's memories of his early years are either lost or hidden away or subsequently suppressed. We are talking about a young boy who for first 6 years of his life was non-verbal, until by his own volition he started making noises. No words, but noises. He was one of 4 kids by 2 different fathers. But didn't remember one dad going to another, arriving. He only remembers Tony Whittock being his dad. He has autism, but socially but hasn't got to the point of his evolution whereby autism was commonly diagnosed or even suggested as a reason for unusual behavior traits. People with autism live by their routines and and the seemingly one recognizable act to acknowledge his difference was to force him onto a coach of which he had no prior knowledge. Finally, after 6 years of silence, not only was Arsenal a person with autism, but he had such a severe stutter that when he learnt his first words, he couldn't then get them out. Plus, there was no help for his parents working hard to bring up four young children in a working class Liverpool, 1960s and 70s, or in the 1960s and 70s, sorry. Is it any wonder why Arsenal has no memories? The next stage of his life was big school, the senior, with trips, but a positive attitude. Life for young Master Flynn was going to change. On the 8th of May 1971, it did just that. And that is the end of chapter 1. If I realised chapter 1 would not have gone on for much longer, I would have read chapter 1 all of yesterday. I realised I've read 7 pages. This video has gone on 20 minutes long. But everyone, for now, if you want the book, I will link it in the description if anyone wants it. I did yesterday. But anyways, for now, goodbye.